Have you ever felt like everything is falling apart? Like you're trying so hard just to hold yourself together, but nothing is working. Maybe you've been crying behind closed doors, smiling in front of others while something inside you quietly aches. Maybe you've prayed, you've asked God to help over and over again, but all you hear is silence. You look around and it feels like everyone else is moving forward, building their lives, achieving things, laughing, living, and you're just stuck. There's this emptiness that no one sees, a quiet pain that drains your energy, that steals your sleep, that leaves you wondering, when will it get better? Some days even getting out of bed feels like a battle. Some nights the tears come without warning. Some moments you don't even know what you're feeling. Just a mix of exhaustion, confusion, and loneliness. And what makes it harder is that no one really knows. People think you're okay because you look okay, because you still show up, you still smile, but they don't see the weight you're carrying inside. If any of this feels familiar, then this message is for you, because I want to tell you something that might just shift your heart, even a little. Even in this darkness, you are not alone. Even in your silence, God hears you. Even when it feels like no one understands, He does. You are seen. You are deeply, fully, and constantly seen by the one who created your heart and knows every crack inside it. God knows the moment you felt that heartbreak. He knows the tears you didn't let fall. He knows the effort it takes just to keep going. And He never overlooks a single one of your struggles. There's a verse in the Quran that says, surely God is with those who are patient. It doesn't say that those who are perfect. It says those who keep going, those who hold on, those who cry but still pray, who fall but still try, those who feel afraid but still walk forward, one small step at a time. And maybe that's you right now. Maybe you're in a season of your life where everything feels heavy and you're barely making it through the day. But I want you to know something. The heaviness you feel is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that your heart is alive. It's a sign that you're human. It's a sign that you care, that you've been trying, and that something in you still believes there's hope. And that's beautiful. You see, the world can be overwhelming. Life can feel cruel at times, but God's mercy isn't limited by your circumstances. His care for you isn't dependent on your strength. It's not based on how many good days you have or how strong your faith looks from the outside. God's mercy reaches you exactly where you are. In your mess, in your weakness, in your confusion. There's a saying from the Prophet that gives me peace every time I remember it. He said, know that what missed you was never meant for you, and what reached you was never going to miss you. Just take that in. Everything that's happened to you, even the things you didn't want, even the pain you never asked for, none of it is wasted. None of it is random. God knows, and God sees the bigger picture. You might only see the broken pieces right now, but He sees the masterpiece that's still being formed. Maybe your heart is shattered today, but healing is already written for you. Maybe you feel lost, but guidance is already on its way. Maybe you feel like you've been left behind, but God is preparing a new chapter you haven't even imagined yet. So don't give up. Don't give up just because the road is hard. Don't give up because it's taking longer than you thought. Don't give up because you don't feel strong enough. You don't have to be strong all the time. You just have to keep going. Keep turning to God. Keep making dua. Even if your voice shakes, even if you have no words, and your heart is just whispering, help me. He hears that too. He hears every silent cry. He sees every tear. And He responds in ways we can't always see, but always need. If you're tired, hurting, or just need a reason to hold on, stay with me. Because this message isn't just words, it's a light, a reminder that you're not alone, that there is healing, that God's mercy is far greater than your pain. So take a breath, Let your heart soften and let yourself believe, even if only a little, that something beautiful is still ahead. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. You are loved by the one who created you, and he never lets a heart break without also preparing the path to peace. Let's walk that path together. Stay with me. Let the healing begin. You know, one of the hardest things about struggling is that it often feels invisible. People around you might not know the storm you're carrying in your chest. You could be surrounded by others and still feel alone, still feel like no one really sees you, like you're screaming inside a glass room, silent to the world, but deafening to your own heart. And in those moments, it's easy to think, what's wrong with me? But I want to say this clearly: there is nothing wrong with feeling broken. There is nothing wrong with struggling. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. It means you're human. It means you're alive. And it means your soul is calling out for something deeper. Some of the most painful moments in life come from things we never saw coming. The heartbreak we didn't expect. The rejection we didn't deserve. The opportunities that slipped through our fingers, the people who left without saying goodbye, or that long, quiet distance we feel, even from God. And sometimes it's not one big thing, it's the little things that build up: the loneliness, the anxiety, the feeling that no matter how hard you try, you're still not enough. But here's the truth we often forget: our struggles don't mean that we've failed. They often mean we're being prepared. They mean something inside us is growing. Even if it feels like we're falling apart, God doesn't test us to hurt us. He tests us to teach us, to strengthen us, to bring us back to Him. There's a reason why some of the most beautiful qualities in faith come from the hardest times. Patience, for example. Real patience isn't just about waiting. It's about how you carry yourself in the waiting. It's choosing dignity even when you feel defeated. It's trusting that there's a reason behind the delay, even when you don't see it. And trusting God. Real trust isn't proven when things are easy. It's proven when nothing makes sense, when the plan falls apart, when your heart is tired, and still you choose to believe that He's in control. That's not weakness, that's faith, that's strength. And then there's gratitude, the kind of gratitude that doesn't come from having everything, but from realizing that even in loss, you still have something. The breath in your lungs, the chance to begin again, the mercy of a God who never gives up on you. Gratitude in hard times doesn't erase the pain, but it shifts the focus. It reminds you that the story isn't over, that even in this chapter, something beautiful is being written. You may not feel strong right now. You may not feel spiritual or centered or inspired. That's okay. You don't need to feel strong to be strong. You don't need to have perfect faith to be loved by God. You just need to keep turning to Him, even if all you can bring are your tears. Sometimes the most powerful prayers come from the most broken hearts. And sometimes healing begins not when the problem disappears, but when your heart remembers who's still with you in the middle of it all. So let's take a deep breath together. Let's pause. Let's reflect. Let's remind our hearts that even in this difficulty, especially in this difficulty, God is near. And to help us understand that even more, let me take you to a story of someone who faced betrayal, pain, isolation, and despair, yet came out stronger, wiser, and closer to God. Let's look at the life of one of the most inspiring figures in history, because his pain was real, his struggle was long, but his outcome was beautiful, and so can yours be. Let's talk about the story of Prophet Joseph, a young boy, gentle-hearted, pure, loved deeply by his father, but envied by his own brothers. Imagine that, your own family turning against you. The people who were supposed to protect you, choosing to hurt you instead. That boy was Joseph. And what his brothers did, It wasn't just a betrayal, it was a shattering of trust. They threw him into a well, not just to get rid of him, but to erase him, to make him disappear. Can you imagine the fear of a child sitting in the darkness calling out and no one answers? Can you imagine the silence of that moment? How alone he must have felt, abandoned, forgotten, crying for help in a place where no one could hear him. But someone was listening. God was there, even in the depth of the well, even in that silence, even in that darkness. God was writing a story. You see, Joseph's life didn't suddenly get better after that. In fact, it got harder. He was found by strangers and sold as a slave, from being a cherished son to being treated like property. And later, when he tried to live with integrity, to do the right thing, he was falsely accused, thrown into prison, forgotten again, year after year, one hardship after another. And yet, he never lost his connection to God. He didn't let the bitterness take over his heart. He didn't turn away, even when the world turned its back on him. He held on. That's what makes his story so powerful, because we're not just talking about events, we're talking about emotions. He knew what it felt like to be betrayed, to be misunderstood, to be rejected, to be alone, to be tested unfairly. And yet, through every low point, there was something constant: God's care. God never left him. When Joseph was in the well, God was preparing him. When he was sold, God was guiding him. When he was imprisoned, God was elevating him. And eventually, after all that pain, came a moment of peace. He was not only released from prison, he was honored, trusted, raised to a position of power. But here's the part that always touches my heart. When Joseph was finally reunited with his brothers, the same brothers who betrayed him, he didn't seek revenge. He didn't hold on to hate. He said something incredible. He said, "There is no blame on you today. May God forgive you." That's not just forgiveness. That's emotional freedom. That's someone whose heart was healed. Not because life went perfectly, but because he trusted God through every imperfection. His pain didn't make him bitter. It made him better. His journey wasn't easy, but it was filled with wisdom. And the same is true for you. You might feel like you're in the well right now, stuck, forgotten, questioning why this is happening. You might be in your own version of a prison, waiting for something to change, wondering if God sees your tears. And the answer is yes, He does. Joseph's story reminds us that God doesn't rush the process, but He never abandons the soul. He guides, He protects, He heals. But it takes time. It takes patience when there's no clarity. It takes trust when the road keeps twisting. It takes faith when nothing makes sense. But one day, just like Joseph, you look back and understand why the delay happened, why the detour mattered, why the pain had a purpose. You see that it wasn't the end of you, it was the making of you. And even if right now you feel stuck in the middle of the story, unsure how it ends, I want you to remember this: God knows the ending, and His endings are always better than what we could write for ourselves. So if you're hurting right now, if you're in that dark place, think of Joseph in the well, think of him in the prison, and think of where he ended up, not because life was perfect, but because he never let go of the one who never let go of him. When we hear the story of Joseph, it's easy to admire it from a distance. But it wasn't just a story for the past, it's a message for today, for you, for your life, for the pain you're carrying right now. You may not be sitting in a physical prison or thrown into a well, but many of us are living through our own quiet versions of those places. Maybe your well is the silence of being misunderstood, feeling like the people you love don't really hear you. or like your presence doesn't matter. Maybe your prison is the anxiety that keeps waking you up at night, the heartbreak that still lingers months or even years after someone walked away, or the pressure you feel to be okay when everything inside you is falling apart. These places, these emotional valleys, can feel just as lonely as any cell, just as dark as any well. And sometimes when the struggle stretches out for too long, the voice of doubt gets louder. Why is this happening to me? Has God forgotten me? Is there even a way out? It's in these moments that we need Joseph's story the most, because it reminds us of something so powerful. Just because you can't see the wisdom in your situation right now doesn't mean there isn't. Joseph had no idea, sitting in that well, that he was on a journey towards something greater. He didn't see the palace, he didn't see the honor, he didn't see the forgiveness. All he saw was the darkness, and still he held on. That's what you're being called to do now. Hold on, even if it doesn't make sense, even if you don't feel strong, even if you don't feel worthy. Hold on to the truth that God is with you in this moment, that He's closer to you than your pain, that He sees the version of your story you haven't reached yet. You're not forgotten. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. Sometimes growth feels like breaking. Sometimes the path to peace starts in a place of pain. And what feels like rejection may be redirection. What feels like the end may just be the beginning of something better than you ever imagined. Think about it. How many times in your life did something not go the way you planned, but later you realized it was for the best? How many times did you fall apart, only to come back stronger? It's not because you're weak, it's because healing takes time, and growth often starts in silence. Joseph's journey wasn't fast, it wasn't easy, and it didn't always feel hopeful. But what made it beautiful was that he never stopped turning to God. And that's the key. It's not about being perfect. It's about staying connected, staying hopeful, even when you're tired, even when you feel like giving up, because God is not waiting for you to be flawless. He's just waiting for you to remember that He is with you, right here, right now, in your heartache, in your waiting, in your fear. The same God who rescued Joseph is the God who watches over you. The same one who brought light into his darkness can bring peace into your storm. But you have to be patient with the process. You have to trust the journey, even when you don't understand the destination. When you have to believe that just because something is hard right now doesn't mean it's not good for you in the long run. There's wisdom in the waiting, there's healing in the hardship, and there's purpose in the pain. Your story isn't over. You are not stuck. You are still growing, still becoming, still being guided. And even when you feel lost, you are never truly alone. So if you're in a hard place today, I want you to remember Joseph, not just the success he reached, but the struggle he survived. And I want you to remember this: if God could carry him from the well to the palace, He can carry you too. Stay hopeful. Stay soft, stay connected to the one who sees you fully, loves you completely, and never ever leaves you. So now we come to an important part of the journey: how we heal, because knowing that God is with us is comforting. But sometimes we still need help just to get through the day. So how do we find healing when the heart feels heavy? How do we stay close to God when the pain makes us feel distant? Let's talk about a few spiritual tools, simple, gentle things that can bring light into your darkest moments. You don't need fancy words to talk to God. You don't need to know everything. You just need sincerity. Even if your dua is just one sentence, even if all you can say is, "God help me," that's enough. And if you're too tired to speak, Your tears still count. God knows what's in your heart before it reaches your lips. The prophet once said that God is near to the broken-hearted, that he answers the call of the one who calls upon him. So call in your own way, in your own words, in your own timing. Talk to God like a friend, like a protector, like the one who knows every part of your soul. And even if you feel like nothing is changing, keep going. Because sometimes dua doesn't immediately change our situation, but it does change our heart. And when the heart changes, everything else follows. There are moments in life when we feel like we're drowning, like we're overwhelmed by thoughts, by anxiety, by sadness. And in those moments, the heart needs anchoring. One of the most beautiful ways to find peace is through remembering God consciously, softly, with presence. Just by saying something like, God is with me, or God is in control, or I trust you. Even in this, these reminders aren't just words, they're like breaths for the soul. They help you focus not on what's falling apart, but on who's holding you together. There's a verse in the Quran that says, surely in the remembrance of God do hearts find peace. It's not a quick fix, it's a gentle returning, a soft realignment, a moment to let your soul breathe. Some days you won't feel spiritual. You might stand in prayer feeling distracted, empty, or numb. That's okay. The beauty of prayer isn't in the perfection, it's in the consistency. It's in showing up even when you feel like you have nothing to offer. Because every time you pray, you are returning. Every time you bow, you are surrendering. Every time you say God is greater, you are reminding your soul that there is meaning beyond your pain. And God sees your effort. He sees when you force yourself to stand, when you push through the tiredness, when you pray not because you feel strong, but because you know you need Him. And those prayers are never wasted. It can feel strange to talk about gratitude during hardship, but sometimes it's exactly what we need. Not to deny the pain, but to widen the view. Even in grief, there is still breath. Even in confusion, there is still mercy. Even in loss, there is still something left to hold on to. Start small. Thank God for your heart that's still beating, for the moments you've survived, for the things you have today that you once prayed for. Gratitude doesn't erase sadness, but it weakens despair. It reminds you that there is still beauty in this moment, even if it's quiet, even if it's hard to see. Sometimes when we're in pain, we shrink, we isolate, we turn inward. And while reflection is important, healing also happens when we reach outward. Even the smallest act of kindness can bring light into your heat. The Prophet once said that God is near to the broken-hearted, that He answers the call of the one who calls upon Him. So call in your own way, in your own words, in your own timing. Art, check on someone else, give to a charity, smile at a stranger, listen to someone's pain, because when you lift someone else, God lifts you. And sometimes the healing you're searching for comes through helping someone else carry their burden. Let me share a real example. A sister I once spoke to had gone through a painful divorce. It shattered her self-worth. She felt lost, abandoned, like her future had been stolen. But instead of staying in that pain, she started volunteering at a local shelter, just a few hours a week, helping women and children in need. She told me, I went there thinking I was helping them, but really, they helped me. Through giving, she found strength. Through serving, she remembered her value. And through connecting, she started to heal. Your healing might come the same way, not all at once, not with fireworks, but slowly, quietly, through faith, through giving, through connection. So if you're wondering how to get through this time in your life, turn to God through dua. Fill your soul with remembrance. Stand in prayer, even if weakly. Choose gratitude even in pain. And open your heart to others, because healing flows both ways. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start with whatever you have and trust that every step, no matter how small, is seen. God sees you, and He never overlooks a heart that's trying to come back to Him. Let's talk about real life, because for many of us, the struggles we face aren't just internal. They show up in our relationships, in our homes, in our workplaces, and in our own minds. Sometimes healing isn't just about knowing the right things. It's about learning how to live with pain while holding on to hope. So let's walk through some real-life challenges, quiet battles many of us are facing, and how we can begin to heal through them spiritually and emotionally. Let's start here, because so many people carry silent wounds from relationships that are supposed to bring love, but instead bring pain. It could be a friendship that drains you, a marriage that leaves you feeling small, a family dynamic that constantly breaks your spirit. You're told to be patient, to stay silent, to endure, and yes, patience is beautiful, but so is protecting your dignity. God never asked you to lose yourself in the name of pleasing people. You are allowed to draw boundaries. You are allowed to seek peace. And walking away from what harms your heart does not make you faithless. It can be an act of self-respect. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is to say no to what breaks you, and yes to what brings you closer to God. Even if that means being alone for a while. Even if others don't understand. Because peace is worth protecting. And God sees the strength it takes to walk away from what no longer aligns with your soul. Maybe your struggle is financial. Maybe you're out of work, or feeling like no matter how hard you try, you just can't get ahead. Bills are piling up, doors keep closing, and your sense of worth starts to shrink. But I want to remind you, your job is not your provider. God is. Yes, we're told to seek work, to strive, to plan, but the outcome, your provision, ultimately comes from Him. There's a verse in the Quran that says, whoever puts their trust in God, He is enough for them. This doesn't mean we stop trying. It means we don't let our efforts define our value. You are not behind. You are not a failure. You are being refined. And sometimes the delay is not a punishment. It's a preparation for something better. Something more aligned with who you truly are. For many of us, family can be both our source of love and our source of pressure. Expectations can feel suffocating. Maybe you're being pushed into a career you don't want. Maybe you're being judged for not getting married. Maybe you're doing everything right, but still feeling unseen. It's okay to feel tired. It's okay to feel like you need space. Remember this, your worth is not measured by how many boxes you check, not by your job title, not by your marriage status, not by anyone's opinion. You were created by God. That alone makes you valuable. So take a breath, realign with what's true, and trust that God knows your heart, even if others don't. This one matters so much. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones that happen inside your own mind. Anxiety, depression, fear, loneliness. These are not signs that your faith is weak. They are signs that your heart is under pressure, that your soul needs care. Please know, feeling low doesn't mean you're failing. Struggling with your mental health doesn't mean you're less spiritual. Even the Prophet had days of sorrow. Even he felt pain when people turned against him, when loss came, when he was isolated. Pain is part of the journey, and reaching out for support, whether through therapy, counseling, or trusted community, is not a lack of faith. It's courage. It's part of taking care of the soul God gave you. And when you pair that support with prayer, with remembrance, with reaching out to God, you're not just surviving, you're growing. You're healing from the inside out. So whatever your situation is today, whether you're trapped in a painful relationship, searching for a job, overwhelmed by expectations, or quietly battling your own thoughts, know that healing is possible, Shaitan. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to start where you are, with honesty, with faith, and with the gentle belief that you are not alone in this. God sees the struggle behind your smile. He knows the tears that fall when no one else is watching. And He has promised that with every hardship comes ease, not after hardship, with it. So even now, in this very moment, something good is already blooming. You may not see it yet, but it's there. Hold on. Let go of what's toxic. Seek help when you need it. Rest when you're tired. Speak kindly to yourself. And above all, stay connected to the one who never lets your pain go unseen. Because healing is coming. Maybe not all at once. Maybe not in the way you imagined. But it's coming. And you, my dear listener, are not alone. Take a deep breath with me. After everything we've talked about, after the pain, the struggle, the stories, and the healing, I just want you to sit with this truth. God has not forgotten you. No matter how broken you feel, no matter how long you've been waiting, no matter how far you think you've drifted, He is still near. The one who guided Joseph from the well to peace, the one who lifted broken hearts throughout history, that same Lord is watching over you right now. You're not just another person lost in the crowd. Your pain is not unnoticed. Your effort is not unseen. God sees you. He knows the battles you're fighting, the ones that never make it into words. He knows how strong you've been, even when you didn't feel strong. He knows the nights you cried and the mornings you still got up. And He hasn't brought you this far to leave you now. Sometimes we wait for life to get easier before we feel okay. But what if peace doesn't come after the struggle? What if peace comes in the middle of it, through faith, through believing that even when it hurts, there's a reason, through trusting that God's timing is always better than our own, through remembering that every hardship holds a hidden gift, and sometimes that gift is a softer heart, a stronger soul, a deeper connection to the one who made you. So if your heart feels heavy today, let this be a gentle reminder: you are loved, you are not alone, you are still being carried. Let yourself feel, let yourself hope, let yourself heal. You don't have to rush the process. You don't have to figure everything out. You just need to keep turning to Him one moment at a time. Because in every step, even the messy ones, even the painful ones, He is with you. And His mercy is always, always greater than your pain. So hold on, dear soul. Better days are written for you. They're coming, and you are already on your way.